Hey guys, welcome back to another quick tips grease pencil tutorial, and today we're going to be going over layers and other settings that don't really relate to layers, but I think they're interesting enough to put in this video. So first thing we want to go is, let's go into draw mode on our stroke here. And if we go into the object properties here for the stroke, you can see these are the layers, and to switch between layers, obviously you can click on the right panel here and just click the layer that you want. You can also go to the top right and click the layers settings here, and that's how you can switch layers. A third way you can do it is if you right click and then switch layers here on the active layer, and that's pretty easy. And then there's actually a fourth way, so many ways to do this, is by pressing the Y key, and the Y key brings up this menu here, and this is how you can switch between layers. So that's pretty neat. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can switch the order of your layer, so I can bring this lines down and you can just press this little arrow key down, and you can see that now it's behind the fill. So obviously this looks a little weird and creepy, but we're putting all the lines underneath, and that's how you can arrange the order. Sometimes you want to only be able to edit, let's say you just want to edit these lines, and if you go to edit mode, so I'm hitting tab and I hit A, so I choose all the lines, you'll see that it selects everything. So I'm also selecting the fills there. But what if I only wanted to affect what's on this layer, on lines, the one I'm on? You can obviously go and lock all the layers, and you can do that manually. But if you have a bunch of layers, that's not how you want to be working. So a quick tip would be to click on this little arrow here and click unlock inactive layers. So now any layer that you switch to, it will lock the rest of them. So if I'm on lines and I hit A now, I'm only selecting the lines on this layer, and you can see I'm only moving the lines. I think that's a very useful thing to use. Another thing to make note is that you can make certain layers be affected by lights. Right now both of these are affected by lights, and you can see that they're affected because this little option is selected here, use lights. So let's just see that real quick and what that looks like. So we will make a light, bring it down, we'll do a point light, and I'll bring it, hit G and bring it in right in front of the stroke, and you see that nothing really changes. But what you have to be is, you have to remember to be in rendered mode, which you can click here on the top right, or you can press Z and select rendered mode, and you can see that now it's affected by light. And you can see that I can change the light color, and the light is affecting the grease pencil. But you can also do it by the layer basis, on the layer by layer basis, and you can unselect it or select it. So that's something to make note of there. Okay, another tip I have for you, let me just delete this light here, is let's say we go to wireframe mode. You're not working in render, you're working in this wireframe mode. Sometimes, depending on the background that you have, it can be difficult to see what you're doing, because maybe these lines are a little too dark or too light. So what you could do is you could change these colors and make it so the wireframe is a different color, and you can do that in the viewport display here, and it's called edit lines. And you'll see that the edit lines at 50% opacity, you can make it at 100% opacity, and then you can also change the color. Let's see, there we go. And that's not affecting anything right now. Hold on, all right, I'm not sure what happened there. There seemed to be a little bit of a glitch, but to change the edit line colors, you go to edit line color right here in the viewport display, and you can see that it's at 50% opacity. You can increase it all the way, and you can choose a different color for your edit. So you see, now they're blue. So if you had like a background that maybe was too close to white, you can change the edit lines so you can view this, I guess, the wireframe of the strokes a lot more easily. Another thing that I think is interesting, so let me convert this back, or change this back to normal black. Another thing you can do is you can add a canvas, and by a canvas is you'll be able to see like kind of like a grid for the strokes, for the object, for the grease pencil. So you click on this icon here, which is the Viewport Overlays, and you see that there's an option here for canvas. If you select that, you can see that there's like this gray wireframe here, and I'll go into like a 3D view. This makes it so you can measure out your drawings, or just have a proper scale if you're drawing from far away. But you can also see that this canvas is not like too visible because it's close to white. You can change it in the canvas settings here. You can change this into a nice color that you can see, put the opacity up, put the color up, maybe put it red. Maybe that's a little bit more visible to see. So that makes it all the easier to do your drawing. Obviously you don't have to work with this canvas, but it's there if you need it. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is moving like strokes into different layers. So if you wanted to, let me go into mode where you can see this. So let's say I wanted to move these eyes, and if I click on them, oh, I'm only clicking on, there we go. So let's say you just wanted to move these eye objects or these eye pieces to another layer. You want them to exist on a different layer, and you want to move it from this lines layer into its own separate eye layer. So what you could do is you can hit M, and I just remember that by moving it. So I'm M moving, and I can put new layer, and there it is. It's a new GP layer there. You type in eyes, and now you have the eyes separated from the rest of the stroke object, which I think is pretty useful using M. And let's say that you wanted these eyes to be just as a separate object all in itself, like you don't even want it within this, and you would do that if you wanted to like animate it separately or use, I guess, different modifiers or things like that. You can just press when you're in the layer in edit, select them, and then hit P for separate strokes, and you can do it by selected points. You can obviously do it by selected strokes or active layer, which is what we're on eyes, but we'll do selective strokes. Boom, now that you got this separate object here that is just the eyes, and you can start breaking apart your scenes and pieces, your art pieces, into different sections to make them a lot more manageable instead of like having them all in one place. I think that's all the tips for this one here. I hope you enjoyed those tips, and I hope you learned something new about these layers. If you have any tips that you'd like to share, or something that I should have put in this video, please let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one.